Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this young lady back. I don't think I've had you on before, Bianca. I've been on your show. It's Bianca De La Garza. She's a great host over at Newsmax. Has a brand new book out called On the Front Lines of the Left's War on Truth. The actual name is Incoming: On the Front Lines of the Left's War on Truth. Bianca, how are you? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, and I've had, the pleasure of you coming on, and it's nice
Yes.
to actually be in this side of the chair, Joe.
I love having you on. I'm glad that you wrote this book, and I want to get into it full-throated in a second, but I don't know that you know this, and we might have just missed each other. I was the main anchor at WRGB in Albany, Schenectady, Troy, from 2002 to 2005. I was the 6 and 11 o'clock Monday through Friday anchor. You were at the ABC, weren't you?
Yeah, what year was this?
From 02 to '05, I was the main guy there with Liz Bishop. I think I either just missed you or we were in town the same time. I'm not sure.
I was there before you, right before
Really?
you. I was there at WTEN,
Right?
and I write about it in my book because it's such an incredible market to work at. I was there in 1999 to
Okay.
2001.
Heard I was coming, and you said I got to get out of here. So then you went to
Yeah,
Boston,
90,
if
oh,
I
so
know.
sorry. 97. Oh,
Okay.
gosh, I'm really, your math is not my subject. English is. 97 to 99. And I worked for Don Decker, who's a legend. I don't know if you
Yes.
know him, the news director.
I don't know Don, but I heard of Don because everybody
Yes.
talked great stuff about him. Well, it's a great mark. You're right. I got there from Michigan and I was there for 3 years. And one of the first things I did was go stand in the middle of like an 8-foot snowfall. Holy crap! It snows there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you stand out near the Capitol, and with the wind chill, it feels like minus 30. And if you're out there for more than
Yes.
5 minutes, well, it's funny. When I got hired, I wasn't even graduated from Emerson College yet. I was like 2 weeks before my graduation.
Oh wow!
And I write about it in the book is because it was such a moment where they asked me to come back. Don Decker took a chance on me, offered me a job. And Joe, I'm signing my contract. And the general manager's like, when did you graduate from college? And I had to sign so fast because I thought if I said next week and I had never done a live shot, that they would have ripped that contract out of my hands. But
Wow.
yeah, it was a great market to start in.
Oh
as you
my
know.
God, that's a huge market to start in, and it's a wonderful area. Such a diversity of geography and topography, and the
Yeah.
people there. Amsterdam loved me because it's Pagliarulos. You know, you got a bunch of Italians there too.
I love
What's
it.
what's interesting to me is that you started there, and at the time you were there, and the time I was there, we were still doing journalism. We were
Yeah.
still really covering stories. We were arguing in the newsroom about what would be best for the newscast. I remember the first night I was on, I got an email from a viewer, and I'm a conservative guy. And he said, "Great, another liberal on the air in Albany." And I went, "Well, good. I tricked the guy." So the job is to be even-handed. The job is to tell the truth. How did the left change it so much, do you think?
I think it started sort of with the long game they'd been playing at universities and the Marxist professors, and it started to seep into this next generation. And you couple it with the explosion of social media, where you don't necessarily have to go out and knock on doors. You can kind of sit back and kind of just be lazy journalists, if you will, and not really be out there pounding the pavement. And there's just an overall, not even just in journalism, but in general, there was a sort of this, I think, victim mentality that was born of this, where it's like,
Yes.
we don't get what we want, we're going to come in, we're going to protest, we're going to make a big fuss, where we were taught to sort of just put your head down, do the work, go out, get the story, and you'll be rewarded if you work hard. The generation that came up sort of after us, I think, in journalism, they were okay getting spoon-fed press releases. They
Right.
were okay because the work sort of felt like, why should we do all that? Our helicopter parents said everything was going to be easy, Joe, and we could
Yeah.
just kind of, saunter on and have them take care of us forever. Mommy and daddy will always bail us out.
But what gratification is there for a journalist who does it that way? You and I went out there. We knocked on the doors of somebody whose kid was murdered yesterday. We went and we covered the crack deal that went bad. We went out and we covered the new construction in town. We just were there to show people what they couldn't do when they were at work. We saw it, we felt it, we smelled it. We just told them what we just experienced. That was the job, and it was so fulfilling to me. How is it fulfilling just to do what the government tells you to do, or just do what the college professor says you should do? I don't get that.
Well, we should ask the folks over, I guess, at 60 Minutes these
Yeah,
days.
true.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think that that's sort of part of why this book, I think, is coming at a perfect time, is because this sort of charade that the media is not completely insane and biased and propaganda now is gone. And people see it for what it's for. And I do think when you lose we're the voice for the voiceless. Whoever's holding the microphone asking those questions is the conduit, whether it be those
Yes.
folks in the White House briefing room, whether it be the people on the front lines, local news reporters. And when they have abandoned the tenets of journalism and what their civic duty is, we don't have a free and fair functioning press. And that's why they've been able to kind of get away with what they've been doing for so long. I've had a front row to all of this volatile political season. And that's sort of my perspective in the book. What we just saw was probably one of the most historic turnarounds. I never thought that we would see a coup, attempted assassinations, but it's all here. And
Yes.
as it's unfolding, I'm on the air and I'm deciphering information, Joe. And because thank God I work at Newsmax, we don't put out things that are propaganda. We
Right.
actually put out the facts.
It is Bianca De La Garza. Go and get this book. It's already number 2, if you can believe it, which I can believe it. Incoming on the front lines of the left's war on truth. You mentioned 60 Minutes. I have to feel for a guy like Bill Whitaker because he asked really good questions and he got really good answers, and then they hid them on 60 Minutes overtime on the web or something. They never aired it, and then they put out a promo with an actual answer. Then they changed the actual answer in the show. So, Bianca, do you think people in America are waking up to the fact that what they're seeing is probably propaganda, and maybe they should go and fact check what they just saw on these big networks?
I think there's two groups of thought. There are people who have been awakened, if you will. I think Elon Musk buying X obviously had
Yeah.
had a huge effect on how we saw censorship, misinformation, disinformation, like the Hunter Biden laptop that they tried to censor during the last election. But I honestly, scary thought, Joe. I think there are still some people around just watching MSNBC and listening to that, because I don't think that the people voting for Kamala Harris are really voting for her, because at this point they know it's a machine. They know they
Right.
tossed Joe Biden out and she didn't get one vote. They're voting because it's a vote against Trump. And the problem is now that the more he goes out any retail politics, whether it be that Chick-fil-A, whether it be now most recently McDonald's, whether it's Madison Square Garden that we're about to see this upcoming weekend, it destroys the media's narrative that he's some type of Hitler and dictator. People remember, oh, this guy was sort of very self-deprecating when he was running The Apprentice and when he was on SNL before. This was a guy who had a sense of humor, who liked to have fun. And I just wrote an op-ed, it dropped today in the Federalist, and it talks about how Donald Trump is the campaign of joy. Donald Trump's campaign is actually the one that's connecting with people. He's having a good time. She's miserable because she actually stands for nothing and is petrified of taking any questions. How do you do a town hall and have Maria Shriver tell the people at the town hall, we're not going to let you ask questions?
Yes. Well,
So
it's
what to
very
think?
telling. Well, Bianca, you're right. It's very telling. By the way, I put the QR code up in the screen. For those who are watching, you can click on that with your camera and go right to go get this book, Incoming on the Front Lines of the Left's War on Truth.
That's kind of
I
cool.
love what you just said. When people say, I'm going to do a campaign of joy and fun and exuberance, you're probably not. You don't have to tell me that. It's like somebody walking up and saying, look how good looking I am. Well, if you have to tell me that you're good looking, you probably aren't. You know what I mean? They touted this thing that they thought was going to work. If I tell you so, then you're going to believe that it's so. Then you got the 78-year-old billionaire dishing out fries at McDonald's. My God, I was cracking up. I had Laura Trump on yesterday. Is that not the best troll we've ever seen?
It's amazing. And he wished Kamala a happy birthday during the whole thing. I wanted French fries since I was watching that over the weekend. I'm like, I have to go to McDonald's. And I've just been so busy because the book just dropped. I'm like, I'm craving some French fries. And I know other people have watched it and did the same thing. There's also a video of him that's being kind of resurrected now of when he went and cleaned some hotel rooms. This is a guy who's not afraid to get his hands dirty.
Right.
Remember on 9/11, he rushed down to Ground Zero and he wanted to check on his people. He wanted to, the way he talks about Gold Star families.
Yes.
He brought them up Saturday at the rally in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. This is the man who actually cares about this nation, this country. And it's incredible the way the smear campaign, once you get into politics, though, if you are an outsider and if you are a threat, which Donald Trump clearly is to the establishment, they are going to do everything to try and take you down. And we've seen it even to the effect of assassination attempts, Joe. It is kind of scary when you see where we're at in the station. But I talk about in my book, I have a great hope for the future. I'm a strong believing Christian. I do believe there is a revival possible. I do believe when I see people like they did at the Latino Roundtable today in Doral or North Carolina, people put their hands on Donald Trump. They pray for him. We have to pray for our leaders. We have to pray for this country. We are a great nation and Americans will survive. We've survived much worse before. We will get through this.
It's Bianca De La Garza. Go and get our book. It's already number 2. Incoming on the front lines of the left's war on truth. Click on that QR code on the screen right now, if you don't mind, with your camera on your phone. That'll take you right to where you can go and get it. Let me ask you one last question. I know you've got to go and be on with our friend Carl.
Carl Higby, the best. Yeah.
Do you
I love
think,
when you're on his show.
Oh, I love being on there. We just have a great time. But what's funny is they give me a list of what we're going to talk about. We never talk about it. We always do something completely breaking news just happened. We just do what we do. That's always the best.
Yeah. We like to roll that way at Newsmax.
Well, and I love that. Can journalism survive? The legacy media is only, I think, the last number I saw was 30% trusted them. That's horrible. I know that more people trust you, more people trust me, but can journalism really survive, like real, clear, unbiased, here's what's going on?
It will be a new iteration of journalists that I think a crop that springs up from this awakening that we've seen. You sometimes have to go to rock bottom to kind of clarify, rejigger, and get, sort of your bearing straight. I think there is this incredible independent journalists. We see them on Twitter. I think Elon's ability to let people sort of go out, take video, they post it. There's no filter there. Donald Trump going on podcasts like Joe Rogan this week. And when he was on with Theo Vaughn, I love this. And I love folks like Russell Brand, who's out there talking his mind. And, the tent is getting bigger and bigger. And I think there's sort of an acceptance. I don't think the legacy media deserves to have a seat at the table for much longer. And I think they can't help themselves from committing malpractice. And they no longer deserve Americans' trust. They've actually taken their trust, their loyal viewership, and, they're not good to what is at our service. And that is ultimately what we are. We have to be servants to the American people if we are going to be journalists and be protected by the First Amendment. What's going on at CBS is disgraceful. Donald Trump's threatened a lawsuit. I think we should see this all the way through to the end. I think they need to release that transcript ASAP. Election interference again, and it is to the detriment of all the Americans. But a lot of Americans, Joe, and I'll leave you with this, they're already voting. 1 million in North Carolina already as of last count.
I live in Texas. There were lines around the block in Texas that's going to be read anyway. They could not wait to early vote for this guy. And I think that too big to rig and swamp the vote, all of those messages are getting through. Thank you for doing this book, Incoming on the Front Lines of the Left's War on Truth. It's Bianca De La Garza. You're 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday?
12 to 2, and then over on our sister network, 4 to 5 Eastern on N2, Joe. Thank you.
They just have you 3 hours a day now on the network.
Just 3 hours a day, but I love every minute. I wouldn't trade it for a thing.
And we love that you're doing it. Do me a favor. Come back again soon when we have more time, would you?
Yes, I will, sir. You know it. Thank you for all you do. You're on the front lines.
Well, we're both on the front lines, and I'm proud to be there with you. Bianca, thank you. Go and get this book, Incoming on the Front Lines of the Left's War on Truth. It's available now, number 2 right now. Let's make it number 1. And we're back after this. Stay right here.